How's everybody doing? Sometimes we do restoration videos. A lot of times we do new builds, surfacing videos. I did one earlier today about putting the front sight on a rifle. This came into the shop. It was an auction find. And it's a really cool hammer. It has seen better days. And one thing I noticed on this is that the eye is quite small and the handle's quite thin. And as much as I would like to see this displayed in the window, I kind of want to use it. And I know that that skinny handle right there is not going to hold up to the way I hammer and the way Cheyenne hammers or anyone else in the shop. So, I want to hand this over to Cheyenne. She's going to knock the handle out and then spark test it and determine, is it one solid piece of homogeneous steel? Is it wrought iron with high carbon faces? I don't think it's going to be all wrought iron, but it could be high carbon, it could be low carbon, it could be a combination of things. So Cheyenne, let me go ahead and turn this around. So just explain to him the process you're working with here.
I'm going to use the punch, knock it out.
I don't know how old that hammer is, but it's been around a while. There doesn't seem to be a lot of carbon content to it, though. It doesn't seem like it's got, it seems to be homogeneous. But there's no burst, so this is all low carbon. Okay. So what we may have here, we may have a piece of a little higher grade rod. I don't know. You can is where the original maker had taken a chisel and scored this for some reason. I mean, sometimes for flint knapping, and this would be extremely heavy for any flint knapping, they would use iron or other hammers. Now, I do see a possibility of a weld point or...
That's what I was noticing.
So there's a, what's that?
Texturing hammer?
No, not likely. This is quite smooth.
I mean it.
No. It would give more grip for whatever meaning, let's say we're just using it to drive wooden pegs, which would not make sense because you would likely fracture those out.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to redrift the eye of this hammer. I'm not expecting a whole lot out of this. I kind of wish we'd have just kept it with the handle in it and displayed it, but that's not what happened. If you haven't liked and subscribed yet, be sure to do so. So what I'm going to do, some people would claim to be sacrilege. Azizi, how's it going? Well, what I'm going to attempt to do, I want to try to redrift this. Now, somewhere here I go. I have a hammer eye drift. Now, I like larger eyes on my hammers because it holds more of the handle. It makes for a stronger piece for heavier use. That is going to take a while to get up to temperature. Now, the cool thing about this handle, you can still see the marks where they used a rasp or a file to work it down. This was likely done with a draw knife, maybe a chisel, likely a draw knife in here, and then worked down with a file or a rasp. Not like modern handles that a lot of times are synthetic, like this fiberglass handle. Okay, so game plan. Once upon a time, a blacksmith made a hammer out of relatively low carbon steel. Likely wrought. If it is stringy wrought, I won't get it hot enough in my gas forge without really turning it up, and it'll likely fracture out. If that's the case, I just destroyed another historic piece, original historic piece. If it works, I'll forge a little better hammer from this older one, but I don't know that it's going to be a sufficient material to really hold up to heavy use. So I'm kind of torn between the options here. Is there a good compromise on this whole matter? Not really. But I've already started into it, so it's either restore the hammer or destroy it in the process. Let's find out what happens. I'm just going to rotate over to the forge. Low to medium orange right now. I want that at a high orange when I go to drift it. There is a possibility of complete failure on this piece. There is a high probability of complete failure on this piece. would be a better way to put it. I really don't know why the peen of that hammer was textured. And if you know, drop a comment. Once more, if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that notification button. Okay. So it's starting to come up to temperature about where I want to work it. Has a very flat face, so it may have been refaced at some point. I don't think that's. I really don't think that's the case. But what I do wonder is if it was intended to work a softer material, or is it just a piece of material that someone picked up and said, hey, I'm going to do this? That's a very narrow eye. That hammer grip is not going to work at first. So, let me grab a chisel. See if this will open that eye up. Nope, that doesn't. Okay, that opened up some. So one thing I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and dress the end of my drift here. It's mushroomed out a little bit. Much better. Okay, looks like we're back up to temperature again. This is actually working quite easy, so that makes me think it's not a very high carbon steel by any means. But you can see how that's opening up now. I mean, I honestly, I almost regret going into this project at this point. Alessandra, how's it going? Because I could have kept that as original and donated it or something, but at the same time, I like to work with old pieces. And this is an older piece for certain. Now, there was a prominent smell that None of you notice because it's YouTube and it's not smell-o-vision. A prominent smell was of being in a blacksmith forge, of being in a coal forge. So that tells me that it was definitely blacksmith made. That there's no doubt about that.
Almost like a sulfuric smell. Sulfuric.
Yeah, I almost had a sulfur smell too, so probably like bituminous coal. Starting to open up. I am going to quench this when I'm done. I don't know what kind of result I'm going to get because there weren't any burst coming off of it. It was all long sparks, and that's an indicator of low carbon. There are some alloys that will act that way, but quite certain this is low carbon.
Okay, super punch it.
This would be okay for like forging copper or something soft like that. Probably don't want to be hitting chisels with it or anything. Shallow hardening, I mean, I could try a super quench on it. That might work. I guess we're going to super quench it when I'm done.
You have to do it when you were heads.
What's up?
You have to do it when you were heads.
Yeah. When you get time. Drip one more time from the top here. How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. Jose, how are you doing? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and drip the top of this a little more. With a hammerhead, I like to have an hourglass shaped die. So as the handle comes in the bottom, when I wedge it at the top, it spreads out and holds everything secure. Some people will do it where it's just a little bit of taper at the top. I find this makes my handles last quite a bit longer. Gives me a better result. If you do too dramatic of a flare, you end up with a little bit of handle and then a lot of space, and that can be very, very detrimental when you have that much play in a handle. Now I don't know why this only had that small eye to begin with, but I'm going to guess that was the size of a punch or something that the blacksmith had. I want to do something with the crossbeam portion of it next. Want to draw that out some, being a lighter, not a lighter hammer, but being that it's a material that is not as high in carbon, I don't want to draw it out too thin because it's likely to deform. It needs that mass there. A lot of people, they're all about the carbon content. Well, there was a time when we cut down forest with copper axes. You know, maybe not deforestation, but there were times we used bronze axes. And then eventually we got to iron and then steel. Well, we teach a copper forging class down at Turtle Island, usually in the fall. And I gotta say that I've seen a lot of soft copper turned into durable blades. It's all about how you work that material and what you expect of it. If you make a stone blade, expect it at first to have an unbelievably sharp edge. Don't expect it to flex like a fillet knife. If that makes sense. All right, here we go. I don't know, it seems tough. The spark testing would indicate that it's not a high carbon steel, but it seems tough. The rebar that I have has more carbon than that hammer. Expect this one to be a low carbon. That's very low. And then we'll take a blade here. We have all kinds of versions. So I'm a little confused about the material. Let's move it with the power hammer next. Always a fun time using the power hammer. So, if anybody wants to chime in on what they think about the material or anything like that, should we do a water quench? Should we do an oil quench? Honestly, if I do a super quench on it, the issue is there will be auto tempering because of the amount of mass that's being heated. The problem with that is that with super quench, you don't want to temper it back. Better shot here for the next heat. Next I'm going to go in, I'm just going to start reshaping the face, not the face of the hammer, but the face end of the hammer. And then I'm going to cool it off, grind it, and then figure out what I'm going to do to quench it. I think it's just a low carbon iron alloy. It's tough. It's still tough, but quench it and then grind it, because then it's likely that if it is very shallow hardening, if it does harden, that that's going to affect the performance of that piece, because it's going to grind away anything that does harden up. Super quench it is, I suppose. My face is definitely not flat anymore. So, I will not set this on the face of the anvil. I'm going to set it closer to the horn. That's an area that's not a hardened area. It's a softer portion. It's actually on the cutting shelf. I'm going to let that cool a bit, and then I'll go ahead and cool it off and do some grinding on it. Treating it like it's a high carbon piece, and it does not appear to be high carbon. I'm just going to come over here and dunk it in the nasty, oily water I have here. It still has a lot of heat in it. That's okay. Okay, so what I have, you see that this peen actually curves down a little bit. I want to do something just a little bit different for this hammer, because it's a bit different. going to bring that up to temperature, and I'm going to quench it in super quench. If there's any auto tempering from the heat creep, I want to call it good enough. I don't believe that this is going to really harden up much at all. Being that thick, on a shallow hardening steel, I'd be lucky to get an eighth of an inch to harden on that. So it will be what it is. And my super quench looks really nasty right now because it's got a little bit of rust and stuff floating on the top. Not a big deal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it out and I'm going to put it down in there and stir it. And the idea is to try to agitate that as much as possible. Super quench is similar to what was referred to in older text as a slippery brine, which is a brine solution with soap added, essentially. And it's a more modern version, and it does harden up lower carbon iron alloys for the most part. So, see what happens. It does not work on stainless. We tried stainless and only letting it heat, the grades of stainless we had rather, heating that, allowing it to air cool, it actually hardened more than quenching it. Once more, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. It's a great time to do that. Hit that notification button. Now, as soon as this comes up to temperature, I'll go ahead and turn it over to the super quench. Wouldn't think that it would have to get real hot, but we're going to bring it up to a high red, low orange, as primitive as the material is. Bryce Richard, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. I'm going to use my scrolling tongs so I have minimal contact with the piece and put that down into super quench. Get that face up closer to the burner now. Probably be better done in a cold forge where I could isolate the heat, or even modern equipment using a torch and isolate the heat on just the ends. But not expecting a lot out of this, so let's see what happens. We're almost there. has been super quenched. We can look at it over here. A little better lighting. Kaya, how's it going? So you can see here where it completely blew the scale off. Nice clean surfaces. This didn't expect it to harden up much. So this is really going to be kind of an act of in vain, you know. So still cuts quite easily with the file. But about what I would expect an axe edge to cut, you know, with the file. Whew. Well, while we're here, might as well clean it up, I guess. Okay, I found something. Sometimes it's a good idea to clean this stuff up. You get to see some of the indicators of what this material might be. Cheyenne, do you want to see this? Okay, so keep in mind that this was originally forged many decades ago. And one, I'm seeing this something. It's kind of an inclusion looking thing here. Almost looks like it had a high carbon face welded to it. I don't believe it did. But I'm also seeing there's a crack in the material here. Mm-hmm. There is a long, not quite a crack, but it's almost. A weld point. It does almost look like this has been welded together, like three pieces. Yeah. Or a couple pieces welded together, because there's
that weld point stops right there. If you look on the other side.
So this
right
is
here too. That's thicker, or that's the darker material right there.
Slightly. So I'm not sure what to make of this, other than it may be composite welded. Somebody may have taken several bars of iron and folded them up to make a hammer. And then years later, many years later, we came in and changed it up. And I've actually had this happen before. There's that tomahawk in there that... What? What if you etched it? I don't want to clean it down that much. I'm not going to put that much work into it. But I had a tomahawk I made. I took an old hammer, forged into a belt axe, and then forged into a tomahawk many or a couple decades later. And that's how long I've been doing this, guys, if that gives you any idea about it. But what I'm going to guess on this is that someone needed enough material to make a hammer and had to fold it up, and did a reasonably good job at forge welding it. It just, there wasn't a whole lot of material there as far as high carbon. So there you go, Cheyenne, you get another hammer. You guys have a great one. Be sure to like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next round, and be sure to hit that notification button. Check out some of the other videos and let us know what you'd like to see. You have a great one.